After taking a year off from her initial undergraduate stint, Sandra Bahoua had to do some self-reflection on what she saw for her future self. After digging deeper into her interest for live events and setting a goal for herself to one day work for Live Nation, Sandra opted to switch over to HTM in 2014, officially starting her HTM journey. At Ryerson, Sandra left a lasting impression on not just HTM, but on the entire Ted Rogers School of Management, taking on high-profile roles on the Ted Rogers Student Society, becoming chair of the Ted Rogers Management Conference in 2018, and contributing to the development of the new Business of Live Events course during her senior year. Outside of school ventures, Sandra's first job in the industry was a reservations agent at the Hazelton Hotel, which she cites as a foundation that ultimately landed her positions at Live Nation and the Toronto International Film Festival. In 2019, Sandra reached her ultimate goal of working for Live Nation, where she worked in the partnership and marketing department to foster and grow existing and new corporate partnerships. With COVID greatly restricting the live event and concert sector, Sandra ultimately decided to make the jump to TIFF early this year, where she is currently a project manager for the Creative Services Department. Hear her journey and more as we hit rewind with Sandra Bahoua. All right, everyone, please welcome onto RHAA Rewind, Sandra Bahoua.
Hi.
Hey, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
Yeah, how you been? Thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Really excited. I've been listening to the past episodes, so kind of trippy to be on one, but excited.
Well, that's nice to hear. All right, well, let's get right into it. So we asked every guest at the beginning, why did you study hospitality and why did you decide to do at Ryerson?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely always had an interest in live events and live entertainment, but I wanted to go to university just to get the kind of theoretical and like studying background, but then also hopefully get like a practical sense of it. And I'd been in another program previously for like a year and a bit, didn't like it, and then took the rest of like what would have been my second year, took it off to just research schools and whatnot. And so came across Ryerson having the hospitality and tourism program. And although like, you know, I didn't necessarily want the traditional hospitality and tourism career, I love that within like the third and the fourth year, the program had courses that focused on event management. And so that was kind of an opportunity I saw to you know, get the theoretical and then also get the practical. So I definitely chose that Ryerson for that reason, as well as like, you know, being at Ted Rogers, especially you're downtown, you're in the core, someone who didn't grow up in Toronto or the GTA, like you see Toronto for like Dundas Square and you get really excited. And then the prospect, you find out like, oh, you're actually going to school like steps from Dundas Square and your school is connected to the Eden Center. Like it's just such a draw and you're like, okay, I would absolutely love to study here. So I think, yeah, just like, you know, having the kind of coursework that I was interested in and then just the location, just couldn't beat that combination and wanting to go to Ryerson and be in hospitality and tourism for that reason.
It's so funny that you specifically mentioned like in third year you get to take these event management courses because one, I'm in that course right now, and two, when I was researching into universities as well, I first of all never thought I was going to get a commerce degree.
Yeah.
But the whole reason I went into this program is because I saw courses like that in the upper years, and that's why I ended up going with the HTM program at Ryerson. So
yeah, no, that was the draw for sure, because I definitely never saw myself like working in hotels or in restaurants, which, you know, no knock to them, but it was just kind of cool to see that, okay, yeah, that might be the focus and that might be the foundation within the first and the second year, and you still get your kind of commerce background, but then to be able to like almost feel like you were specializing in your last couple of years, that was like the biggest thing for me. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm down to stick it out. I actually do like, you know, hospitality as an industry. Like, you know, I love going out to eat. I love staying at hotels. So how bad could it be to, you know, study those for, you know, a year or two and then get to like the meat of things and what I really wanted to look into. So definitely worth it for me.
You said that your interest in live events in the event world like sparked your interest in studying hospitality. And it does show with the extracurriculars that you did take on at Ryerson. Because like a lot of people do like take part in student groups, but like you were like shooting for the stars because you were part of TRMC, the Ted Rogers Manager Conference, for all 4 years. You were also on the Ted Rogers Student Society as the Director of HTM. And at one time you were doing both at the same time.
Yeah.
On TRMC and TRSS, you were in really high profile roles, Director and Chair.
Yeah.
So how did you balance both of those while at school?
Yeah, I will say, some of my grades definitely did suffer because of that. Like, I'll be completely honest. And if I were to do it again, I don't know if I would be able to do as many student groups. So I definitely got involved in student groups a lot more heavily than most people would expect, just because it was my second time around with the program. And I mean, looking back on it now, it's really funny to think, but I was so hung up on the fact that like I felt like I was 2 years behind my friends when who had graduated high school with me. Just being in one program and then leaving within my second year and taking that full year off. I just felt like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like I'm going to graduate when I'm 24 now versus when I'm 22. Like, I thought it was the end of the world. But I did want to make sure I was getting the most out of the experience. So I ended up doing, TRMC. Actually, funny enough, I really hadn't known what student groups I wanted to get involved with. I thought like, okay, maybe after the end of my first year, see how things go, see what maybe interested me. But I think it would have been like January of my first year. Through I hope TRSS still does it, but like there's funding for students to go to different conferences.
Yes, there is.
Exactly. So I would have gone to it's the University of Alberta's conference, the new conference. It's like a women's only conference. It was at the time. And that was that was my first exposure to really like student group life and organizing kind of big events. And I was lucky enough to go with 4 other students who were heavily involved in student groups at the time. And they kind of just introduced me to it. They're like, this is, we all went to Alberta together and we experienced this, but they're like, we do something like similar to this in the form of TRMC. And so I was introduced to that while I was at the new conference. I actually all the other 4 women that I went with, they were like, you have to apply to be an ambassador. So they actually all helped me apply to be an ambassador. I think the weekend we were there was the last weekend you could apply. So I did that while I was there. And then when I came back, found out, got to be an ambassador. And that was kind of my first entry into it. But I definitely did student groups as a means to like expand my network and just meet as many people as possible. I think one thing that's kind of unique to hospitality and tourism as a program is the fact that it's a smaller group of students. And so it's tough sometimes because, especially add to the part that Ryerson is a commuter school. Sometimes people are on campus just for classes and they're going back home. Fortunately, I lived in the downtown core, but at the same time, it was a little bit harder to kind of connect with people within my program because oftentimes people were commuting and they were just there in and out for school. So I guess it kind of blossomed from TRMC. And then I would have done Frosh. I would have been on the events committee, I think in my second year for TRSS and did Frosh. I met a lot of people through that. But really was like very focused on TRMC, but also just like by way of like just doing Frosh my second year, I stayed on and did some TRSS stuff. But like I said at the beginning, my grades definitely might have suffered a little bit because of all the involvement. But it really did like open a lot of opportunities. And like, I've met some phenomenal people through that for sure.
Wow. This is so interesting hearing you say this because it's like, you have lived exactly what I'm almost going through right now. So I'm going into my, third year of being on TRSS. Well, I'm in my second year of being on TRSS now. I'm going into my third year for next year.
Congrats. Because you would have just been elected, I guess. Yeah.
Yes. I was just elected as the president for TRSS next year.
Oh, no way. Congrats.
Yeah. So
honestly, round of applause. That's huge.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, it's crazy.
About it, right? Like
I mean, it's crazy hearing you talk about it because I do agree with you. Like, I think when you're in the HTM program, you quickly realize how small it is. And I love how like strong that community can be. And I have my day ones in HTM that,
absolutely.
Are always going to be there for me and have supported me in every step of everything I've done outside of HTM. So hearing you kind of talk about your involvement and you're jumping to TRMC and TRSS for like the networking aspect, and like I'm such a big advocate for talking more about our program as well because I think it is one of the smaller ones. It's refreshing to see.
Yeah, and I mean, like looking back on it, I think I like hesitated to get involved directly with like, I'm going to say HTMS. I'm going to date myself, but I guess now it's RHTSS. But with the Student Society for our program proper, honestly, I think it was just because I felt like I knew I didn't really want to go the traditional route. So I didn't really want to take the place of someone who maybe wanted to be able to network with like, you know, GMs of hotels and GMs of restaurants. I was more willing to be like a participant and, you know, go to the events that RHTSS was putting on as opposed to taking a spot. I definitely think like RHTSS like and HTM as a program, like there is such a solid foundation because we are a small group of students. You go through pretty much your 4 or 5, how many years you do with pretty much the same people, at least in your first and second year in every single class. You get to know everyone's personalities and work styles really quickly. You start to form like who your core group of people is you're going to work with on group projects. And that kind of makes your friends for life. I'll be honest. That's who I still talk to. All my like people that I would have worked with in my first year, like on projects, those were my girls throughout all of the program. Cause we just always knew like, oh, okay, we all have this in our calendar. See you in this class. Like, see you at 8 o'clock for, you know, finance. Like it's bound to happen. You're going to see all the same people. So I think that was one thing, like, I was like, let me kind of expand the network outside. And that's why I got involved into like the more general TRSM student groups.
Yeah. And I love how you say that you joined just for the experience aspect of it as well, because going to university, yes, the grades are important. You know, the studying is important. Profs, you're listening, grades are important.
Very important. Very
important. But people tend to forget about the experience side, you know, the networking side. You know, 4 years go by really quick. And if you don't, you know, broaden your horizons.
Yeah. No,
network.
I agree. That's definitely something that I'm like huge on advocating for is like university number one. Like, I mean, people come from different backgrounds, but like for some people, university isn't just like, it's expensive. Well, like you might leave university with debt. You might still be paying it off. Like I'm still very much paying off my OSAP loans, no regrets about it. But at the same time, I definitely wanted to feel like I was coming out of it with more than just like a piece of paper. Like I have the knowledge from my classes and like even the network of like professors that I can reach out to if I have questions about things or need references, like that's there. But then it's also like the experiences, like it's tough. I think that's the one thing like is a criticism and also a benefit to Ryerson is that it is very much known as a commuter school, but because we're in the downtown core, there's a lot of activity and it just makes it very lively, but it's different than being at like a McMaster or even a U of T up the road, like having kind of like I guess like a traditional campus sense and having to live nearby campus and like participate in student life by just means of like living on campus, you know, eating on campus, having floor mates, things like that. Those things like come to a lot of people at other schools, whereas it might not necessarily come to us. So I think what we do really great, our strength is I think student groups above everything. Like I have good friends that went to U of T or went to McGill and like they look at our student groups and they're kind of like, well, at least my experience are like, oh my gosh, like that's not something I knew that schools were doing or even had the ability to kind of like have that reach. I think like that's something we very much excel in because we kind of have that commuter school reputation. It's like, okay, if you really want to expand your experience, there's the ability to do so through like so many student groups in every faculty. And I think that makes the whole university experience a little bit more worthwhile, aside from the stress from classes. No offense, teachers, but you know, they know there's stress that comes along with school, and it's nice to be able to just be able to even like de-stress.
Hey, and like I said, your grades might have suffered, but hey, you still got that degree. It's still hanging on your wall, you know?
Please get the degrees.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, you were chair for TRMC in 2018, I believe. So walk us through what was it like planning such a high profile conference while as a student. And I guess there was pressure because TRMC is like the signature event for Ted Rogers School of Management.
I guess just because we have the Ted Rogers in there, right?
Yeah. So like that, like, you know, the school's rep is kind of on the line.
yeah. Honestly, no, you're not wrong. TRMC, I think one thing that really like benefited me with TRMC is just because I was part of it every year I was in school and I had evolving and like gained responsibility every year I went. So my first year, obviously being an ambassador, I think that was like the first year they ever had ambassadors. I could be wrong, but I feel like we were like the first year. And we come in pretty late into the conference planning, like a month before the conference plans, like the conference is supposed to start. So for the most part, a lot of things are laid out and you get kind of an overview of what's going to be happening. And then my second year, I was the ambassador manager. So I came on like a couple months earlier than the ambassadors would have, and got to hire them and kind of like get them prepped for the conference. Third year, I was the VP events. So I would have been on the conference team, like right when everything kind of started, as soon as like the chair hired everyone for the exec team, and then had all that experience built up to go into my fourth year and be chair and kind of understand the processes. And obviously along the way, you know, having friends and knowing the past chairs, and like the chair before me, Michelle Park, she's like one of my best friends still to this day. But like just having that knowledge from prior years really helped, and knowing how much of my time and effort had to be put into TRMC was what helped me kind of do it. But it was by no means an easy task. It's something that took up pretty much all of my school year. We would have started, like I would have became chair, I guess, like May of the year prior. And then beginning of summer, you know, hiring the exec team, working through summer, meeting once a week in person, going into the school year, adding more people to the team. And then obviously the conference comes around in March. So, you know, it comes around early March, and then the next month is exams for the end of the second semester. So it's the whole school year, 100%. It's nonstop, but it was very rewarding. That was the, I think, thing that pushed me to keep doing TRMC year over year, was that there was an end date, kind of knowing the goal was, you know, the conference date. The conference date always stays about the same. Conference date is always like a week before my birthday. So it was kind of like a fun extra birthday party, to be honest, because I don't really love my birthday too much. But it was like nice that I got to celebrate with people that I've been working with throughout the year. But definitely an experience, definitely something that helps you to work. I mean, I think HTM as a program is very good at that, but like collaborative work, group work, you can't really escape it in HTM. You're going to do it. But I think it just makes sense for the industry, number one, that we are kind of like going into through HTM. You're always going to be working in groups. You're always going to be working with other people. So it prepared you. But I think TRMC on top of that added to it, because it wasn't us putting together schoolwork. It was more us putting together something that was a reflection of our work. So like, not to say that schoolwork isn't a reflection of your work, but you're trying to make sure you're getting a grade. You're trying to make sure certain elements are there. Whereas with TRMC, we had a lot more freedom to, you know, what speakers we were bringing in, what venues we were going to use, how we were going to decorate the place. Like, it becomes a reflection of everyone's personalities and inputs. And so that was something to be like proud of and show off. And I think that was like my driving force with wanting to be involved all 4 years, and then finally my last year as chair.
So on top of juggling school and the student groups at Ryerson, like any student, we have to work. Mm-hmm. So one of your first jobs in the industry, ironically, is at the Hazelton Hotel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually very ironic. I won't lie to you. I mean, so for a little bit of background, like with the Hospitality and Tourism Management program, I don't think it's changed, but I think it was before my time, like the year before, it was 1,600 work hours. It became 1,000 work hours before you graduate. So that's something that we added. That's on top of our coursework. We have to work in the industry, and they kind of give you like a list of like what could work, but definitely have to work within hospitality and tourism. So for me, I like never worked in, I worked in like fast food for my first job at A&W, but after doing that, I was like, I could never do a restaurant. So I was like, restaurants are out. What other job could I do part-time? And I said like, oh, I love hotels. Like I would really enjoy hotels. So I just applied to a bunch of hotels in my first year. And then, yeah, the Hazelton worked out. They needed somebody part-time with reservation to work within reservations. And yeah, I worked there ended up being 3 years, and still very close with a lot of people that I work with there. But that was a great experience, just in terms of, again, teamwork and understanding how to collaborate with people across like different departments, which is something I still do in my work day to day now. But yeah, also had to work, which was tough. Like I will say, I was really glad that I stayed where I was for so many years at the hotel while I was in school, because they were super flexible and understanding of like my work schedule. So during the day, school schedule. So during the weekdays, I would only work in the evenings. I would start at like maybe 5 or something like that and work till like 9 or 10. And then I would get to work on the weekends. And I mean, I shouldn't be saying this, but if it was quiet, like I'd be doing homework down there. It would be, I worked in an office in the basement, and like if it's a weekend, there's no one else there with us. And I had a sliding door. I could play music. I could just like relax and read like readings. So that was really good and flexible. And then I kind of had an agreement with my manager and my director, like, listen, this conference happens every year. They always knew like TRMC is coming. I need to get like the Wednesday before TRMC off, and then the Sunday up till the end of the Sunday off. But yeah, juggling work, juggling school work, juggling student group work, really takes a lot out of you, but you come out stronger for it. But yeah, I worked at a hotel. Yeah, first job in the industry.
Yeah, awesome. And from there, you jumped off and you excelled in many various roles in other different companies. One of them that I find really interesting is at the DMZ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that and what the DMZ stands for and what they do.
Yeah. So the DMZ is it's part of Ryerson Zone Learning Network. So we have, I think I don't work there anymore, but I think it's about like 9 or 10 zones within Ryerson that have different specialities. So like the fashion zone, obviously for fashion entrepreneurs, the science innovation zone, I might be getting it wrong, but of course, for any students with entrepreneurial kind of prospects in science. And so the DMZ is the tech incubator. So any kind of entrepreneurial venture a student might have. And then also the DMZ is kind of special is that they're a zone that also brings in outside entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs that might have already established their companies and they want to grow it in the accelerator. It's not just for students, but there is very much a student arm of it. So that was where I worked. And funny enough, I mean, I don't even know how to get into it, but yeah, like I started at the DMZ because I actually worked there as a student very like, not briefly actually for like a year or two maybe, but this really kind of falls into like from the Ted Rogers School of Management. I think I did a work study at the school for a bit, and then someone who worked at the school ended up moving over to the DMZ, and so they asked me if I wanted to come over and help kind of between whatnot. Again, like I don't know how looking back, this is insane, but like I don't know how I would have done all that. But I once I graduated, I was still very much looking to work in live events and entertainment, but an opportunity hadn't come that had worked out by the time I graduated. So I stayed at the DMZ and started working full time, and was very lucky to be able to actually be taking care of like events and programming in the space and kind of like facility management. So pretty similar to what you'd be doing in like a kind of like GM role at a hotel similarly, but without people like sleeping at the DMZ, but just managing the space and managing the events that went through there. And I did that for a year, but it was really cool to see just like the resources that Ryerson puts into students innovating. And we actually had some people that I was in the program with and I was friends with who launched a kind of Airbnb similar kind of venture at the DMZ while they were there. And so it was just good to see that they were supporting students of all faculties, all programs to kind of push and see what they could create outside of their schoolwork. So, yeah.
Wow. Awesome. All right. So at the DMZ, you spent 2 years there.
Yeah.
And then you moved on to Live Nation. Yeah. And you were there for from 2019 to 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So you recently moved on recently to another big venture, which we'll get into later.
Sure.
But tell us a little bit about your time at Live Nation and what we were doing there.
Yeah, so Live Nation was kind of like a really big goal for me. It was kind of a company that I'd been eyeing since I started at Ryerson, to be honest. While I was in my previous program, I met someone whose dad actually worked there. And so I got to know her really well. And I asked her, what does your dad do? Like, this is amazing. And she told me a little bit about it. And I was like, okay, this is where I want to work. So I said, let me go to Ryerson, let me get my background in event management and see how I can make my way into Live Nation. And to be honest, even when I graduated, I wasn't sure what route I was going to take because I definitely didn't have the artist facing experience in the sense of working with artist teams, working with agents. And I didn't have a marketing background and music marketing or anything like that. But I tried my hand and actually kind of worked out really well that they were looking to hire someone for their brand partnerships team to work on. At the time, there was a deal with Mercedes-Benz Canada, and they had their music strategy was being able to offer all Mercedes-Benz owners in Canada access to all concerts, all Live Nation concerts in Canada. So they did that through the form of like a concierge program. And so it kind of works similarly to the work I did at the Hazelton Hotel, working reservations and kind of being like the first point of contact and giving them, especially for that hotel being like a luxury hotel, giving like a certain level and quality of service. They were looking for someone to kind of own that on the Mercedes side, and give them kind of like white glove treatment, you know, pick up the phone, answer the emails and say like, you know, thank you for being a Mercedes-Benz customer. We, you know, as a part of that perk, as a part of that elite group kind of thing, you have access to all the shows in Canada. So I came on to do that initially, and would have joined the brand partnership team. And so I did that for, not for a bit, but I did that for like half a year. I came in June. I came in right after the Raptors won. So my last day at work at the DMZ was the day after the Raptors won. So the third, like they went like on a Thursday night. So I was out all night the night before. I went up at 6 a.m. and I crawled my way out of bed. I got to work for my last day on the Friday. And then the first day I was supposed to start at Live Nation. So the next Monday was the Raptors parade. And so I was told, don't come in. Like nobody's in the office. We'll start your first day on Tuesday. So I started, mid-June. City was very much in a high. It was, you know, the last summer before COVID. So, you know, everything was full force, concerts, whatnot. And so I did that. And then our team like started to grow in the need. And so I started to actually oversee a little bit more in terms of like our ticket programs with some of our brand partners. And so that grew into a little bit more and more responsibility. And then COVID hit. So, you know, started June 2019. And then by March 2020, so like 7 months later, COVID had hit and kind of slowed everything down. I would have been like furloughed the summer of 2020, so May to September, and then brought back as my boss was preparing for mat leave. And so kind of took on her responsibilities and kind of starting to understand what the changing nature of like our brand partnerships was looking like. So until about when I would have left this year, I was kind of managing different campaigns, different initiatives that involved artists linking up with brands to promote, whether it be like their music or a brand's program, but doing that virtually. So attending, whether it's virtual shoots, if we were shooting something in Los Angeles, just like being available on call all day, watching those shoots through Zoom and answering any questions. Or I had like the opportunity, I was really lucky I guess it would have been last year. I went to Montreal for like a couple days in the summer just to oversee a shoot over there for another partner. So yeah, it was really exciting work, but I mean, definitely COVID slowed down a lot of momentum with the live entertainment industry and just made it tough for like people to really even grow in their positions because we were unsure of like when things were coming back. I mean, as we're recording this now, I know we're looking forward to like everything getting lifted in Ontario at least, but when March 1st comes, it's still going to be as of what I've read for now, it's still going to be 50% limit in capacity for concert venues. Outdoor, hopefully it's going to be fine to go for it. But yeah, it was kind of a tough stretch over the last 2 years with just COVID slowing everything down.
Yeah, for sure. And with the live event industry, especially for concerts and stuff like that, it's, you know, COVID, everyone talks about pivoting.
Yeah.
And I think with this industry, it's kind of difficult to pivot because there's only kind of one product they could, you know, produce.
Exactly. Yeah. And
yes, there were the Zoom concerts.
That's it. And that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
But that's kind of like watching a music video at home on your computer.
That's
right?
it.
It's not the same kind of experience.
Yeah. I think like definitely everybody tried and for a bit, you know, obviously when we were really locked down and couldn't go anywhere except for going for walks and like going to the grocery store, like, you know, there was definitely a concerted effort around the world to see what we could do with like Instagram DJs and like, you know, virtual concerts. But at the same time, yeah, the experience of a concert isn't necessarily you listening to the music from home. You could just put on Spotify and listen to an album that you really like. And, you know, the sound quality is always going to be the same and you're going to get what you expected. Whereas expecting people to be able to sit in front of their television and watch a show and like, it's not the same ambiance. It's an empty room with you by yourself, maybe, or with like a friend or a partner. You're not getting the same energy that you would get from being in person. And that was something that always drew me to that industry, is that energy of like being around the sound and the atmosphere of people. So it was tough. Like it was a tough pivot. I think like virtual concerts, they could only do it for so long and keep people's interest, and to find different ways. Like Fortnite concerts became a thing. Like who would have thought we would have been having concerts in video games, but like we had to spice it up. There's limitations to how many people could even be in a space for a production. So like they were still filming movies and things like that. But again, there was, restrictions to how close people could be, what you could be doing. And so taking away all those kind of elements, or at least those putting those capacity limitations, kind of limited how much you could actually, how many people and expertise you could have in a space to put on a production. So yeah, that definitely made it a lot harder for the industry to pivot. It was tough, 100%.
Yeah. So unfortunately, COVID did limit the amount of work you could have done with Live Nation, but you moved on to greater things, I would assume, because you are now with TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, as a project manager.
Yeah. I know a lot of people, like I even had family members asking me like, well, if you left like Live Nation and that's live entertainment, and then TIFF is like, a big festival and it's supposed to be in person, like what's the difference? And one thing that I've noticed and I've learned since now joining TIFF is that there's so much more to the organization than just the annual festival. They do so much year-round programming through like the building itself, till TIFF Bell Lightbox on King Street, having 5 cinemas in there. There's a lot of things that go on year-round, and like meeting spaces even for like membership meetups. And so I think TIFF and like the movie industry and the film industry kind of has an easier transition, because already before COVID, people were obsessed with Netflix. People were already watching, people were waiting for Disney Plus, like on pins and needles up for it to come to Canada. Like people have no problem sitting at home and watching movies. And so TIFF was able to like, make sure that they were still giving their members the same kind of experience by just like, okay, now we have TIFF Bell Lightbox, like digital TIFF Bell Lightbox. You have access as a member to all the movies that you would have had in theater from the comfort of your own home. And that's not an experience that they really had to kind of sell and innovate on the same way music would have, and trying to convince people, watch a concert at home. It's like a similar experience. It's just not, it doesn't translate the same. So yeah, I'm definitely now at TIFF, very much loving it. Love the organization, love the structure and kind of like mandate that they have in terms of like bringing film to more audiences. And and there as a project manager, it's definitely a role that is similar to like a lot of roles that I've had in the past. I mean, I even look at like my time at the Hazelton Hotel to be kind of project management, very like adjacent, just because with reservations, like I'm taking the calls from people and asking, getting all their information. And then like, let's say somebody wanted like a specific type of pillow. I'm going to the housekeeping department and I'm asking them to make sure that pillow's in the room. If they want a certain type of wine when they arrive, I'm talking with the concierge team to make sure that's there. If they even want like a certain room with a certain view, I'm talking to the front desk to have that done. Like it's very much project management oriented in the sense that I'm talking to multiple departments to get the job done. So the transition to project manager has been really fun. Like an official project management title has been really fun. And my role specifically caters to the creative services department. So kind of like our team made up of graphic designers, motion designers, videographers, video editors, and like our editorial copywriting team. And anything that's public facing, campaigns or initiatives that have any kind of design element to it comes through our team. So one way my VP describes it, which I'm starting to like really love, is that I'm the air traffic controller. And then I get to like look back on it as like, oh, that kind of, hospitality and tourism, at least I kind of, that's a way of looking at it that brings it back to what, I studied. But it's air traffic controlling in the sense that it's making sure that we actually have the bandwidth to produce the things that are being sent our way. So like I mentioned, there's so much that goes on year round at TIFF as opposed to just the festival. The festival, everybody's been telling me picks up soon in the spring for preparing for that. But year round, we have so many just different initiatives and programs that go out for the public. And so there's always things being produced. There's always like a very strong pipeline of requests for our creative team. And so I was able to come in as a project manager and just kind of make sure that we have the right resources and the right bandwidth for all of that. And just kind of also making sure that when things and requests come in, they're fully scoped out, as opposed to missing pieces that would delay the creative team in terms of like them being able to just have the creative process and flow freely, or versus like stopping midway at one point because they might not have like the dimensions or the specs for a certain asset. Things like that, helping that make like that flow of work go a lot smoother. So yeah, it's been interesting, but it's definitely a learning experience.
Yeah, that seems so cool. It's such an amazing position.
Thank you.
And I love how at the beginning you said that the project managing aspect of this role, you know, you were prepared for it through your role at the Hazelton with like the reservation stuff, because it just shows the transferable skills that you can develop at HTM.
That's
you know,
it, 100%.
Even the like the minute things that you do in your everyday life or your everyday job can't be transferred in some way to some new role.
Of course. Yeah. And like, that's one thing I will say about, you know, the program, the hospitality and tourism management program. Like, if anything, you come away with transferable skills. Like, you know, we very much have a privilege in, like, because it is a Bachelor of Commerce, you get the basic business background, you get the couple years of finance, of accounting, of marketing, of business management sprinkled here and there. And then we get to like focus in and bring those skills into like the hospitality world. And I didn't think I was going to get the TIFF job, to be honest. Like, I applied just because I was like, you know what, this work seems interesting. And it's pretty similar to what I'm kind of doing right now with Live Nation, just because everything had gone virtual. So I started to work a lot closer with like our creative agencies that worked with our brand teams. And so I was seeing a lot more in the editing process, and I was seeing a lot more in like, you know, the production process. So I was getting a little bit more acquainted with like creative process as a whole. But like I was doing project management there in terms of like seeing a whole campaign through, like, you know, working with our promoter teams that would help us book the artists for the campaigns, and then working with the artist management to like figure out scheduling and, you know, working through contracts, and then even getting them paid at the end of, you know, a campaign. I was the one that was drawing up like what we would call settlements with our finance team to make sure like, okay, we had all the proper documentation from the artists, you know, all the bank information, all the wire information was complete so that we could actually pay them through. There was always aspects of like project management in everything I was doing, like work-wise, from the Hazelton on. So it was just kind of like a comfortable mindset for me already. It was just understanding, okay, let me get a little bit more background on like what all of our creative teams do. So within design and within copywriting and all that. But other than that, like, it feels like things that I've been doing for a while, because I kind of got that background from working in hospitality and tourism and just being able to like communicate with different departments that have different responsibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. I think something I'm definitely learning, because a lot of my friends are graduated, is that project management is sort of a skill you like pick up in different industries, and it is very flexible, but it's not necessarily like I don't take a project management course. You kind of just do it. And I feel like that's something you kind of get to when you go out of your career, is like you're actually like a project manager. Like this is your role, this is your description.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I said, I didn't think I was going to get the TIFF role, because when they were like the qualifications for it included like PMP, so like the project management professional certification. Like it said like not needed, but an asset. But like I think that was one thing I really like emphasized in my interview. Like, obviously, you know, I don't have my PMP, but I've worked in a lot of roles where I've done project management style work, and been a project manager on campaigns, on programs, on whatnot. I would even say like, yeah, at the DMZ as well, like, you know, managing that space, it was not just dealing with like internal departments, but it was also like I oversaw the space at the SLC the most frequently. So it was working with the SLC staff, like making sure like the elevator was unlocked if we were doing programming before the SLC opened on the weekend.
And just for our listeners, SLC is the Student Learning Center.
the
Ryerson Student Learning Center.
Yeah, located at Young and is it
Gold?
Yeah, Young
Gold.
And Gold. With the Basil Box, shout out Basil Box, fed me a lot. Underneath, if it's still there, across from L Furniture Warehouse. So anyways, so people know exactly where it is. But yeah, that was like, you know, working with a lot of different teams, and like, let's say the president's office wanted to use the space, like, I'm not going to say no. So let's, you know, figure out what we need to get done to actually make that happen. So it was constantly kind of just doing project management work throughout my career. It's just like, now it was kind of nice to put like an official title on it, which was something I was hoping to do with Live Nation. But again, with COVID, like there was just no end date for it. So it was kind of waiting and seeing when everything was going to pick up for everybody to start like really growing and evolving and the roles that they were holding during COVID. And that was a waiting game. I was just kind of like tired of playing. So thank you, TIFF.
Yeah, it's funny that you keep saying that, oh, you didn't think that you were going to get the TIFF role, because like from just me listening to your story, I felt like you were more than qualified. You took the initiative to learn, the different aspects of like, live event industry, the production side and everything. And we're all glad that you actually did apply, because, instead of disqualifying yourself from that role, you just applied and let fate take over,
That's it.
and let them disqualify you, or
that's it.
offer you an interview.
Yeah, no. The worst thing that can happen is they say no, and it is what it is, right? I think like
the worst thing is they'll probably shred your resume.
Exactly. That's it. Like that's it. They'll delete the email that said, you applied, whatever. But like, I think that's one thing that I've definitely come away with COVID is like, at this point, like whenever everything, I don't think normal is ever going to be a thing we see, but like whenever everything goes back to where we're able to like comfortably live our lives without so many precautions, it's like we lost so much opportunity in the past 2, almost 3 years. Why take away any more opportunities, or why shield yourself from it? Like you might as well try. The worst thing you're going to get is no. So I just like, I didn't really see any kind of like cons to not applying. So I said, okay, let's try it out. And it worked out in my benefit. So I can't complain, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So the biggest takeaway here is don't disqualify yourself. Don't discredit yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm assuming your role right now is still working from home.
Yeah. So our office is open, but I'm someone who like loves working from home. Like if I could never go back into an office, I'm 100%
in your element
like that
right now.
Oh, I'm in my element, because that's my whole thing. Like it's not that I hate, well, it is, but it's not that. I don't hate being in an office. I love the flexibility of working from home. Like you just get so much. I mean, it depends. Like I work really well alone. I'm an only child, so I'm just used to being alone a lot of the times. I'm comfortable in that element. I don't get distracted easily if I need to get something done. Like I'm able to focus in a workday 9 to 5, like focus on work. But it's also just like, being comfortable, like even just wearing the pants you want to wear, taking the time like for a break. If you want to go for a walk around like your street, go quickly. Like to make a lunch, like I probably put more effort into my lunch than I do in my dinner. I'm not going to lie to you. Like sometimes I'll even be preparing, like I'll be marinating stuff for dinner while I'm making my lunch, just because like you don't have to worry about the commute. You don't have to worry about like, I don't know. I love working from home, but my office is open and I do need to go, and I have to go in. I'm in Ottawa right now, back home for the long weekend, but I think I'm back next week and we have a tour. So it'll be about almost 2 months since I've started this job. I haven't been in the office, but I said, I'm just going in for the tour. Doesn't mean I'm going to work there all the time, but I love working from home.
Yeah. Awesome. So it may sound redundant, but what does a typical day at work look for you, or at home?
At home,
Aside from marinating your dinner.
Exactly. Aside from that, very big deal for me, honestly. My work day to day, to be honest, like I said, like air traffic controlling. I mean, right now I'm still very much in the learning phase. Like I would have started like end of January. So I'm still very much like learning the processes and also seeing where I can improve them. But once everything starts rolling, very much a normal day for me would be like, one, I'm very active on Trello. We use Trello, if anybody's aware, it's like a project management software kind of tool. Very active on that, kind of going through what requests are sitting there, what requests maybe might be overdue or need a little bit more information. I'm in a lot of meetings, to be honest. I don't hate that though. But in a lot of meetings that have to do with like the general running of the TIFF, like the building, like the cinema, the production of it, and just knowing like, okay, what might be coming our way for us to produce, like what's coming up, what's coming down the pipe, checking in with the creative team, just making sure that they're good with like the deadlines that are already in place, letting them know about upcoming projects. And then like right now, one of my main focuses is actually like an OKR for myself for this first quarter into the next quarter, since I started like midway through, is just like going through processes and making updates. So the last time someone would have been in my role would have been pre-COVID, and they left. And so just with the mess of COVID, they never really got back to hiring someone for it. So there's been a lot of like, obviously turnover and whatnot, and people have changed positions, but not a lot of maintenance to the processes. So that's something that I'm pretty big on right now, is just making changes to how things get requested, how things get done, how things get signed off on, so that we have like a smooth flowing system once things pick up around the festival time.
Wow. I love that. I mean, I could talk to you for hours, to be honest. In fact, I actually might need to follow up with you because
Yeah, please.
I have an interview to do for a class.
Okay, yeah.
But we are winding down to, I guess, the end of our episode, and we typically do a little activity. I think Andy's preamble about this activity is so much better.
Oh, yeah. So it's just,
Great, Chantal, don't worry.
A little like rapid fire this or that. So then Chantal, So then Chantal will just name two things.
Okay.
And you just say the first one that pops in your head that you like.
I like that because I don't think I'm not this. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, here we go. So first question, hotel or Airbnb?
Hotel. I'm old school for that. Hotel.
Your roots working at the Hazelton, of course.
Yeah, I know what a hotel can provide. Like Airbnbs are beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Like sometimes they can be really like top notch, but I don't know, the hotel like experience is just beautiful.
I'm with you there. Yeah, I love the hotels.
Hotels.
Okay, dine in or take out?
Dine in.
Of course. Coffee or tea?
It's marinating in the fridge right now. Come on.
Yeah. No, dine in, honestly, because I really do like to like show my appreciation for people who are working in the restaurants. Like I could never do it. It's not something that I have even close to the capacity for. Like mentally, I just couldn't put up with anybody being rude. Like I would probably do something to their food. I'm not going to lie. So I kept myself away from that. But I think like it takes so much to do that. And I just like to be able to show my gratitude in person. Not to say you can't do it with takeout, but I do really appreciate every step of the way.
Yeah. Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea, because I can't drink coffee. I get too hyper. No, it's bad. I don't drink coffee.
Music or podcasts?
Music. Podcast with music. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Are you a morning bird or a night owl?
Night owl. Yeah.
Do you prefer city lights or the countryside?
City. If you could see where I am right now, when I'm back home in Ottawa, it's like there's like farms behind me. There's literally a cow. There's like a full milk, a dairy farm. Like I could walk to it in 5 minutes. It's not for me. So that's why I moved to Toronto. Yeah.
That's incredible. Do you prefer a night in or a night out?
Pre-COVID, I would have said night out. Now, post-COVID or whatever COVID phase we're in, night in, 100%. 100% night in.
Okay. And my last question might be kind of controversial.
Ooh.
Ottawa or Toronto?
Ooh, can I say neither?
Where would you pick?
Vancouver. I'm obsessed. I was out there last summer. I'm trying to go back next summer.
Chantal's heartstrings.
Yeah, no, I'm obsessed. Like the West Coast does something to your soul, 100%. Yeah.
Like I can't say I disagree being from the West Coast.
Oh, are you actually?
Yeah, I'm actually from Vancouver.
I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but like, what area? I don't know.
Do you know where Richmond is?
Kind of. It's like south, right?
Yes, it's south. I basically live right above there, so I'm still in Vancouver.
Cool.
But I'm like 5 minutes and I'm across the bridge.
Nice. Yeah. No, I was staying in Mount Pleasant, so like Maine.
Oh,
and, that area. But yeah, I love Vancouver. So I honestly would say neither. Sorry.
No, it's okay. All right. So where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Woo, that's more controversial than anything else, I would say. Honestly, you know what? This might sound insane to say, but I really don't, not that I don't see myself anywhere. I just think I've like the idea of a 5-year plan is like almost obsolete to me now just because of COVID. Like it threw a wrench. Like I'm going to be 4 years, like this June would be 4 years since I graduated from the hospitality and tourism program. So I wouldn't have said that in 5 years. I would have lived through a global pandemic. So I think now I look at it more as like taking, every day, one day at a time, taking advantage of any opportunity that comes your way is another thing that I just like live my life by now. But I definitely I can't sit here and say I have a plan for 5 years at all. No.
No,
Fair.
and that's all right. Yeah, that's totally all right. And
Yeah.
finally, what is one piece of advice you would give to anyone studying hospitality right now? I think I might know the answer to this already from our
Do you?
conversation.
Oh,
Get involved.
get involved is good, but I mean, I know people, like, sometimes people are really very introverted, very shy. It's tough to do. I would say, even if you don't want to get involved or if don't feel comfortable getting involved, like, attend those events, attend the events that other students are putting on. Like, my best advice would be, like, ask questions about, like, careers or jobs you're interested in now. Like, find people, whether it's through LinkedIn, whether it's through your professors, take advantage of, like, Zoom, take advantage of Google Meet, and, like, ask them for 15-20 minutes of their time for, like, a quick chat, just being invested in what they do and learning about what they want to do. It doesn't mean you have to be networking for a job. It's really just like you wanting to know the ins and outs of their role and what they like about it, because that might help you make a decision on whether you want to pursue that or not. So that would be my best advice right now.
Awesome. And there you have it. Well, thank you so much, Sandra, for your
Thank
time.
you both. Honestly, this is fun.
I started Ryerson in 2016, so our crops have passed our time at Ryerson, and I remember just seeing you in the halls, and that you
Was
doing
I doing something
your
really
thing.
dumb? Oh,
No,
I get nervous. I was
your
probably
name
really
popped
loud in the
up. Yeah, I see your
halls.
face everywhere because you were so involved, and that I remember thinking is that, like, you had your stuff together. Like, you had a goal, you had a path.
You.
You were doing it, and and it's nice to hear that, like, you had a goal to work for Live Nation, and you did it.
Yeah.
Now you're in the world of live events and the production side, which is what you the reason why you started hospitality as well. So it's nice to see that you're thriving.
Thank you.
And you deserve all the success that you have coming your way.
Oh, thank you, Andy.
Absolutely.
Thank you both. Yeah, no, a pleasure.
Yeah. So Sandra's information is on the screen. You can follow her on LinkedIn, or you can follow her on TIFF. See any new projects that are coming out. And it's just a reminder that you can follow RHAA on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at RHAA Ryerson, or you can follow us on Instagram. Wow, I just said that. You can follow us on LinkedIn or YouTube, and it's just our full name spelled out. We gotta make work for it. Sorry, guys.
Like, click, and subscribe, as they say on
click, and
YouTube.
subscribe. You're doing a better job than me at this.
No, please. You guys are killing it. No, this is great. You guys keep up the great work, and yeah, this is fantastic.
All right. Thank you so much, Sandra.
No problem.
All right. Bye, guys.